say your last name correctly?
Yeah. Oof. Okay. I used to have a client who called her baby her turkey. Um, the baby had an actual name. This was a human baby, but I don't remember the baby's name because whenever I talked to my client about this child, it was always like, oh, my turkey started talking. She said, "Mama," or my turkey's crawling, or whatever. It was very weird. But this child was born on Thanksgiving Day, so there was a reason. I was working in the Bronx in family court. I was representing parents accused of neglecting or abusing their kids, which is the kind of job that if you talk about it at a cocktail party, people are like, like it's not a comfortable conversation to have usually. But I really liked the work, and I had some really lovely clients, and I felt strongly about it. And this particular client with the turkey baby was one of my favorites. We'll call her Maria. The way I met Maria, the way it works in family court is the agency that handles, like the Child Protective Services in New York, files a petition against a parent accusing them of abusing or neglecting their kids. It's like a criminal complaint. The parents get summoned to court, and an attorney like me gets assigned to represent them if they can't afford an attorney themselves. So on this particular day, I pick up this petition before I've even met Maria, and I read it, and I start freaking out because her baby, the turkey, had only been alive for like 5 days. So this is a newborn. And the allegations in the petition said that not that this baby had been neglected or abused, she was only of this world for a little while, but that Maria had 7 older children who had all been removed from her care. Not just removed from her care, but Maria's parental rights had been terminated, which is what happens when, like, on the New York Post, when you read about an abuse situation on the front page, those kinds of cases are usually the ones that end up with a termination of parental rights, where the kids are freed up for adoption by another family. And 7 kids. 7, I'm Catholic, but that's a lot of kids. So I read it, and immediately I'm like imagining a horror story. Like the petition didn't have a lot of details because it turns out that these 7 older kids had been removed from Maria's care when she was living in another state. So it was a little fuzzy. It just said that she had this history. So this new baby number 8, was in imminent danger of also being neglected. It's like a preemptive sort of thing. So I read it, and I go to meet Maria for the first time, and I'm already, I've got notions about what kind of mom, would let whatever it is happen. And I meet her, and she's this like lovely, skinny lady. She's like in her early 30s, and she's wearing, just like drowning in this hoodie. And she's big eyes and a soft voice, and she's incredibly sweet. And immediately, like, I can't reconcile, a woman like this losing 7 kids. And I try to talk to her about it, but she doesn't know me. And she, either out of like sadness or embarrassment or just the trauma of it, she doesn't want to talk about it. So we just talk about the baby turkey, the turkey baby. The attorney that was prosecuting the case, that was representing the Child Protective Agency, was like my nemesis in Bronx family court. I hated this prissy bitch. She was like, she had like a porcelain doll face and like pursed little lips, and she wore a lot of foundation, which is like, ugh. So she, we go into court so I can be assigned to represent Maria. And the prissy bitch is like making her little judgy looks, like, looking at Maria like she's not like a human being, just like so judgmental. But we don't have any facts. We don't know what the story is. And on that first day in court, I'm just going to call her the prissy bitch. The prissy bitch is like, wants to put this newborn into foster care right out of the gate. And Maria wanted more than anything to take this baby home. So we convinced the judge that foster care for a baby that's 5 days old is not okay. The judge agrees to let Maria take the baby home, but under very, very strict supervision. Like, she can never be left alone with a child. Maria was staying with her parents in a one-bedroom, like in the projects, and it basically meant like Maria's mom or dad or another adult always had to be there whenever Maria was with her child. But it was the best we could do until we could figure out, how the case was going to play out. So then we wait for months and months and months for these records to come from this other state to try to figure out what the story was. And Maria never opened up. I mean, we would talk about the turkey all the time, and but she just couldn't talk about what had happened. Finally, the records show up, and I'm like bracing myself again, like I didn't know what the story was. And I start reading them, and I'm expecting like a New York Post sort of horror story. And it is a horror story in a way, but like not the kind that ends up in the newspapers. It's just an incredibly sad story of just poverty, like what it means to try to raise 7 kids when you don't have the resources. So I'm reading through it. I mean, it's basically, it was like her oldest kids, when they hit high school, started running with rough crowds, skipping school, which most people don't know this, but if your teenage kids skip school, you as a parent can be found guilty of neglect. Started as educational neglect, that's what that's called. And Maria and the father of her kids were holding multiple jobs down. They were relying on the older kids to look after the younger kids. So if a caseworker stopped by and saw that situation, that's, insufficient supervision. That's another strike against you. Maria smoked pot, which if you ask any parent in Park Slope is like a perfectly normal way to cope with parenting. But if you're poor and you've already got like the child welfare system in your life, is like, you're fucked. And it just snowballed. Maria was working several jobs and they couldn't feed the kid. I mean, they would run out of food stamps before the end of the month. And if a caseworker stopped by and saw that the refrigerator wasn't fully stocked, then, another strike against her. And it snowballed until finally the agency in this other state put all the kids in foster care. And Maria tumbled into a depression, couldn't keep up with the programs that the system was asking her to do. And eventually her lawyer, I don't know this man, but I want to throttle him retroactively, convinced her she should just walk away. She should just consent to a termination of parental rights because her older kids were going to age out of the system anyway. And her younger kids, he told her, would have a shot at a better life in an adoptive home that could provide more resources than Maria ever had. So in a dark moment, she agreed. She signed over the rights to her own children, and she walked away. And when I found this out, I talked to Maria, and there's not a day that goes by that she doesn't regret it. And you can't really undo that sort of thing. But she found out she was pregnant with baby number 8. Her relationship with the baby's father had fallen apart by that point. So she moved back to the Bronx, which is where she's from, and tried to start her life anew. So she gave birth to this baby on Thanksgiving Day. And when these case notes were sort of laid bare, the prissy bitch read all of them. The judge saw, got a sense of what was going on. I think everybody that was involved in the case, all the social workers, all the lawyers, recognized that the woman in the case notes was not the same woman who had been coming to court month after month with this baby and her mom, like the adult, extra adult supervisor, whatever. Like, Maria was a different person than the 17-year-old that she had been when she had her first baby. So they eventually agreed to withdraw the case, which I have never seen somebody more thankful than Maria the day that I told her she could take her baby home on her own. She said the first thing she wanted to do was go for a walk in the park with her daughter, just the two of them. Anyway, when Thanksgiving comes around, I think about Maria, and I think about, first of all, how naive and judgy I had been when I first read that petition. Like, family is super complicated, and you never know like what people have been through. But I also think about her a lot because I think, you know, who you were doesn't necessarily have to define who you are. And I'm thankful that I got to meet her and know her story. Thanks.